Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and welcome to day 5 of our 100-day countdown to the best version of ourselves in the new year. As always, my friends, I am thrilled you're checking in, and I'm happy to be here. And I was just thinking, I got this unexpected Christmas gift today. I hope you had a great Christmas, by the way, but it was such a kick. I'm like 80 miles away, doing returns, all this stuff, and all of a sudden I get the notification that Tanny Raw is going live. And if you don't know who Tanny Raw is, again, I always encourage people to look her up. It's TANNYRAW, Tanny Raw, all one word, of which I'm a fan. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm pulling over. So I pull over, she's kicking in on this talk, and she says, hey, Jules, want to chime in? I'm like, so yes. So all of a sudden I get on, I'm like rocking it with Miss Raw, the internet. There's this Pixar film right now. I think it's called Wreck-It Ralph Wrecks the Internet. Yeah, we almost took down the internet. The energy was just too much. Just like I got kicked out. Within 1 minute I was kicked out, and I could only say the internet panicked. You cannot have both of us in the same room. It was a blessing, and I wish it lasted longer, but still, at the end of my life, I can say I had 15 seconds of fame when I shared a room with Tanny Raw. I'm just playing, but it was a blessing. All right, anyway, let me get on with my talk, people. So, I say that I'm an avid reader, and I always do various self-help books and daily thoughts and stuff, and I've mentioned this one before. It's called For Today by Overeaters Anonymous. And if you are new or you don't know my story, I am a clinical compulsive overeater. Like, I can honestly consume enough for a small country in a very short period of time. I accidentally rely on food. Even though I'm a God person, I'm totally a God person, but he gives us our challenges, and he knows mine is definitely sugar. It's sugar in general, but by sugar, I just mean, any kind, even cheap carbs, right? White breads, certainly sweets of any kind, alcohol, which is liquid sugar in the body. Anything like that just makes me crazy. And while I wish my body would want to run in the other direction, for some reason, it just goes crazy and says, more, please. So whatever. It's not a weakness to say that that's my truth. It's actually empowering to know that that's my challenge that I have to overcome. So anyway, with Overeaters Anonymous, I like to read this For Today book. It always gives a quote to begin with, and this is the quote. It says, vitality shows in not only the ability to resist, but in the ability to start over. And vitality means showing strength, right? To be strong, show strength, energy. Vitality shows in not only the ability to resist, but in the ability to start over. And that's by Scott Fitzgerald. And that is really powerful. And then it always goes on to explain. And so it says, what injustice to think myself a failure because I have to begin again. I feel like they're kind of, like not shaming me, but saying, really, wake up. Like, I'm so arrogant. What injustice to think myself a failure because I have to begin again. So I slipped or relapsed. So what? Starting over is what creation is all about. It is part of the fabric of success in enterprises, ranging from spinning a web to splitting the atom. I love that. Not only is it getting us off the hook by saying, so I slipped or relapsed, so what? But to say that creation, to start over is what creation's all about. When I think about that, from the sprouting of a plant to the actual growing of it to coming, into fruition, and growing whatever the product is to finally starting to break down, ultimately dying, returning to the earth and starting again. I get that cycle. But it says, starting over is what creation is all about. And I love that it says it's part of the fabric of success and enterprise. And it's so true. They always say, if you've never failed, you've never tried. Because inevitably you will fail initially, right? And then what a beautiful comparison. Something like nature and spinning a web. I mean, I was going to say the simplicity of spinning a web. There is nothing simple. I mean, not only is that spider working desperately all night, to get its meal the next day, but every single web is so intricate and every one of them is unique. And it takes total persistence and perseverance and concentration for that spider to spin that web, which, to my knowledge, technology has never been able to repeat. That is only a gift from God. And then all the way from spinning a web to splitting the atom. God, think of the insanity of that. To even recognize that there were atoms, the smallest particle of matter in the universe. To even recognize what an atom is, let alone be able to split it, so that exponentially the amount of power and energy in that atom increases on an exponential level, right? I mean, my gosh, 2 times 2 is 4, but 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and times 2 more is 16, and times 2 more is 32, and times 2 more is 64. And exponentially, it just grows and grows at such a rapid pace. So I'm going to read that part again. What injustice to think myself a failure because I have begun, because I have to begin again. So I slipped or relapsed, so what? Starting over is what creation is all about. It is part of the fabric of success and enterprises ranging from spinning a web to splitting the atom. And then it goes on to say, willingness to make a new beginning is a sign of growth. It means I'm returning to the program with a deeper understanding of myself and my illness. And though that may not apply to you to actually think of yourself, as having a disorder of some kind, you can think of it a different way. It means I'm returning to the program instead of the program, returning to this way of eating, returning to my healthy choice with a deeper understanding of myself, which is so important. And you don't need to say my illness. You can just say my deficits, my challenges, whatever it is that challenges you. I didn't put the whole thing, but I wanted to share that. And I really do appreciate that, because I, years ago, I would rather just turn a blind eye to my eating behavior and my obesity. And instead of having pants that actually have a button on them and a zipper, I would get stretch pants, and just stretch my way into the next size or whatever, without much accountability and not wanting to talk about it. And that was really difficult. And today, even though I may continue to slip, like it says, I actually have the courage and vitality to start over. And luckily, the lapse in time is much shorter. So what used to be months at a time before I'd get back on board, now, it can be one bite to the next. Like within a meal, I may have the grace to get on board. Certainly from one meal to the next meal, so within the same day. One day to the next, so certainly within the same week. So I'm able to recover much faster and make a better choice. And I'm trying really hard to see the whole picture. To not shame myself. It doesn't get me anywhere anyway, but to be putting myself down, to shame myself, to say I'm not enough, to say that I'm imperfect, blah, 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 it's not going to get me anywhere. So I'm going to try and turn that around. That's part of, even though we're living in the present every day, if I dared to have a New Year's resolution, and again, New Year's is just one more day in the week, it would be to continue with self-acceptance for sure, but also to be able to just change the mindset to the positive. So not saying that, I'm a blow it, but just like this says, the ability to persist and to accept the ability to start over. Not only persisting, which I'm very persistent, but also recognizing that even if I falter, there is a lot of strength and grace and vitality in starting again. Because some people don't take the risk to start again. All right, so where are you guys at? What do you think of that talk? It's pretty interesting to me. There's a lot to think about there. But I'd love to know what you think. I'd like to know where you're at, whether you're making goals for the new year. Be sure and like our video if you like it. Leave a message for me to respond to. Join us if you haven't. People are asking if I'll be here in the new year. I've always said if there's one person with a need, I'll be here. There's so many channels to be choosing from, and certainly with Tanny Raw's encouragement, I've gotten more subscribers for sure, but it's still a very small, intimate channel, so take the risk and share. And, make sure that you join us if you haven't. And until we talk tomorrow, can't wait, be blessed, my friends.